Um, Hello, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and welcome to our session again. And today, I want to take you through some important aspect that maybe you may be struggling to work out maybe when using Microsoft Excel. This is a very important concept of lookup. So I want to take you through a training on Vlookup, where I will show you how you can be able to employ the use of a Vlookup function in carrying out data analysis. So this is the data that I'm going to use. This is just an introductory part of the Vlookup function, but maybe in my next video, you watch out, we will get into more detailed class or into more detailed use of Vlookup function. Now, before we proceed, let me first of all just delete this dataset that I have here. Then we're going to do it afresh. So before I work on a Vlookup, allow me to first of all maybe just take you through a brief of how I was able to come up with this dataset. Of course, if you look at this, it looks like a sales data. This is more of a sales data which is representing the sales of some salespersons of a particular company. So you can see here we are given the name of the employee or the name of the salesperson. In other words, we are given the code which actually represents the status in which the salesperson is employed within the company. If you look at the code here, we have got FT, PTC, NE. Then we have a reference sheet here from where you can be able to get more details or get more information about this particular information that we have here. So if I come here to my reference sheet, then you can see here, if I see the code FT, that means the person is employed on a full-time basis. And of course, if employed on a full-time basis, it means they're being paid monthly. Once again, if I see PT, it means the person is employed on a part-time basis and they're supposed to be paid weekly. C means contract, paid daily, and NE means not employed, and of course they are not supposed to receive any pay. So once again, I will come back to my employee sheet here. Then here we are once again here given the regions. So we have different regions within which these persons are working in. Like for instance, we have people in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nyeri, and many other regions that you may see within the dataset. We are given the sales which the salespersons were able to make within that day, and of course also given the target for each and every person. So you can cross-check here. Each and every person is given their target that they are supposed to meet per day and the actual sales that they made. So we can see the first person here, Duncan, had sales of 320 when they had a target of 350. Catherine had sales of 564 and she had a target of 500, meaning that she actually surpassed her target. So if I come here, the company gives a bonus to employee, and the bonus is given as 5% of sales. The bonus is computed as 5% of sales. So this is very simple. For those who watched our previous videos on using basic Excel functions, we're just going to do this directly. So this is equal to 5%. This is equal to 5% of what? 5% of sales. This is equal to 5% of sales. I will simply control enter. Then once I control enter, I autofill. Then I move to compute for the retainer, which is actually 10% of sales. So this is equal to 10% of sales again, 10% of sales. I will control enter, then I autofill. And the gross pay we are told is computed for as a bonus plus retainer. Gross pay we are told is computed for by taking the bonus plus the retainer. So now that we have already calculated the bonus and we have also calculated the retainer, it means we can easily get our bonus. So the bonus is going to be equals to, sorry, not the bonus, but the gross pay, that is going to be equals to the bonus here. Then I do what? I add my retainer. It is bonus plus retainer, just as simple as that. I'm not going to do any aspect of locking here because actually there's nothing that we are locking. We want everything to change. So we are just going to use an absolute cell referencing. Then we have the paid period. The next thing that we are supposed to compute for is the paid period. So this is where we are going to make use of a Vlookup function And ladies and gentlemen, before I proceed to get the paid period, let me just give you a quick overview of lookup functions. And lookup functions are normally used to extract some specified values from a given range of values that you have. So here we have got three types of lookup functions. We have three types of lookup functions. Number one, we have what we call the Vlookup function. We have the Vlookup function. Number two, we have the Hlookup function. We have the Hlookup function. Hlookup function. And finally, we have what we call the Xlookup function. We have the Xlookup function, the Hlookup function. We have the Hlookup function. So we have the Vlookup function, the Hlookup function, and the Xlookup function. These are the major types of lookup functions that we have. So Vlookup function, just interpret it in the basic way. V here stands for what? Vertical. So this gives you, or rather it extracts information from a reference sheet, or rather from a reference range that is aligned column-wise. That is vertical, or the Vlookup. Hlookup, on the other hand, extracts for you information from a given data range or an array that is aligned horizontally. In other words, row-wise. And then we have the Xlookup. The Xlookup is a new function, or is a new model of the lookup functions, and this puts together the Vlookup, the Hlookup, and of course we have other types of lookup functions that probably you may not know. Like for example, we have the match function and the index function. The match function, the index function. So Xlookup takes into consideration both match function, index function, Vlookup, and what? And Hlookup. Vlookup and Hlookup. So the Xlookup function will take into consideration all of these: the match, index, Vlookup, and Hlookup. So you need not to struggle to know where you're supposed to use the match, the index, Vlookup, or the Hlookup. So Xlookup will take that into consideration. Please note that you may not find Xlookup in your Microsoft Excel version that you are using, because Xlookup function is just a recently upgraded function, and it is only available in Microsoft Office 2021 or Microsoft 365. So it is either you are using Microsoft 365 or Microsoft Office 2021 and above. Of course, right now we are at Microsoft 2022. So if you have Office 2021 or Office 365 subscriber, you will be able to use Hlookup. Now, let me show you what we are going to do here. Let me first of all clear this that I have here. Just gonna clear everything. All right. So I want to get the paid period. So what do I have within my data set here? The identifier that I have is the employee code. So I have employees who are there on a full-time basis, part-time, contract, and those who are not employed. It is the employee code that is determining the paid period of my salespersons. Because if I move to my reference sheet here, then I am able to see here that employees who are on a full-time basis, represented by the code FT, they are supposed to be paid monthly. Those on a part-time basis, represented by the code PT, are supposed to be paid weekly. Contract C are supposed to be paid daily, and of course those who are not employed, represented by the code NE, are not supposed to receive any pay. That is no pay. So this is what what we are supposed to have in that particular column. Well, you could come here and maybe try to type here, like maybe you cross-check that is FT, so I'm gonna type full-time. I come here, that is PT. Well, I'm gonna type part-time. But don't you think that is that's quite a lot of work? So let's see how we can use Vlookup to help us get this. So this is what I'm going to do. I will just say equals Vlookup, and first of all, before I do the Vlookup, let me show you the reason why I'm using the Vlookup. And I will move back to my reference sheet. From my reference sheet, this is the table from where I want to make reference, all right? This is the table from where I want to make reference. So if you look at this table, it is aligned vertically. In other words, I have what I am looking for aligned column-wise, okay? They are aligned column-wise. So this is code, status, and paid period. What I actually need is the paid period, which is now in column number 3. So because they are aligned column-wise, remember we said the Vlookup extracts value from a given range vertically or column-wise. So that's why I'm using Vlookup function. So I move back to my employee sheet here. Then I say this is equal to Vlookup. Then the lookup value is going to be the employee code. The lookup value is going to be the employee code. I put a comma. I move on to the table array. For the table array, I want to look for this employee code within my reference sheet here. So I'll move back to the reference sheet. Then I'm supposed to highlight the whole reference sheet like that. I highlight the reference sheet like that. So I'm done with the array. I'm done with the array. I put a comma. Next, I move to the column index number. Right here, I have column index number. So what do I need? I want to get the paid period. So from this reference range that we are looking at, where is our paid period? Paid period is in column number 3. Look at this. Here, ignore counting, maybe like column F, G, H, but then just do a manual count, okay? So the first column here is representing code. The second column is representing the status. And of course, the last column here representing the paid period. So this is column 1 for code, column 2 status, and column 3 for the paid period. So that is what I need. I need the paid period, which is actually in column 3. So for the column index number, I'm going to type 3, comma, and then I have the range lookup. Of course, I'm going to use exact match. So I use exact match there. Once I'm done, I simply enter. And that gives me my first paid period here to be monthly. And if you cross-check, this is full-time, and full-time employees are from our reference sheet. They are supposed to be paid monthly. So I will simply autofill to get the paid period for all my other employees. Okay, so I get the first 3 right. The first 4 right, but the next one gives me hash not applicable, or the hash NA. This is the reason why it is giving me that error. If you, for example, I come here, then I move back to my formula, you can see the lookup value is C7, okay? The lookup value is C7. That is very right, because that is our lookup value. Next, I move to my table array, and the table array here is F12 through H16. That is in the reference sheet. So let me move back to my reference sheet, then I confirm where is F12 through H16. So here. So where is my F12? That's what I'm supposed to look at. Just a minute. So here I have F12 through H13. So you notice that there is a wrong referencing that has been made here. So what I'm supposed to do here is very simple. And this is it. I'm actually just supposed to, just a minute, there's no problem with that. This was F12 through H13. This was F12 through H13. Okay. So what I'm supposed to do here is just to make sure that my reference range is not changing, and therefore that means that I'm going to employ the use of absolute cell referencing, and I'm actually going to lock my entire table array. So to do that, I just come to my formula here, I click on table array, then I press on F4 from my keyboard, and that should be able to give me the fully locking, that is by locking my reference range fully using the $signs. If your F4 keyboard is not working, maybe you press on your F4 keyboard and it's not working, press on Fn followed by F4. You press on Fn followed by F4. So that is what I'm supposed to do. Let me control enter and then I re-autofill so that we see now. Perfect. So everything works out right. When I do that, everything works out right. Everything works out right. Everything works out right. So you can see here now I have quickly extracted the paid period for all my employees instead of coming here to type like maybe monthly, weekly, daily, or those other methods that I could have used. Then next I have the comments. I have the comments. Of course, for the comments, we're not going to use the Vlookup function. So let me go straight away to the status. Let me move straight away to the status. And maybe before I move to status, let me just maybe interchange this. Allow me to interchange this so that I bring this here. Okay. So for the status here, the status here, means whether they are full-time, whether they are part-time, contract, or not employed. So once again here I'm going to employ the use of Vlookup function, and I'm going to use the same sheet. I'm going to use the same sheet. So I'm just going to say this is equal to Vlookup. This is equal to Vlookup. My lookup value is this code here, ft. That is my lookup value, comma. The table array will remain to be the same. I move back to my reference sheet. Then I have this as my table array. Then of course, I will fully lock it. You now know the reason why we are fully locking. I put a comma. My column index number, I now need the status. So I will simply change the column index number from 3 to 2 because the status now falls under column number 2. So for the column index number, I will have 2, comma. And then for the lookup value, it's false exact match. So I enter, that gives me the first one full time, and then I autofill. So I have full time, part time, contract, not employed, and all that. So this depends on this particular code that I have from this other side. That depends on this particular code. It is this code here that determines the status or the paid period that I have here. Okay. So that is how you do Vlookup. That is how you do Vlookup. Of course, I can take a minute to show you the Hlookup. So let me show you how you can do the Hlookup. Don't mind about the title. So for the Hlookup, I want to just still get the same status, but now using the Hlookup. So remember, I said first of all, before I use Hlookup here, I said that Hlookup gives you, or rather returns for you, your specified values from a range that is aligned horizontally. In other words, row-wise. So that means that we need to change our reference sheet. If we are supposed to use Hlookup, then we need to change our reference sheet so that it is aligned horizontally. So that will be very simple. What I'm going to do is just that I'm going to transform, not transform, but to transpose this particular table. So I'm just going to copy, then I move down here, then I transpose. All right, so I believe you are able to see the difference between this table and the initial table that I had here. In this table, these are my titles. Remember, these are my titles. So they are aligned horizontally. They are aligned row-wise. This is in row 17. The code is in row 17. The status is in row 2, and then the paid period is in row 3. In this other case, they were aligned column-wise. That is why I was using Vlookup function. But now for here, because they are aligned horizontally in rows, I'm going to make use of the Hlookup function. So I will move back to my sheet here. Then for this case here now, I'm going to say equals Hlookup equals Hlookup. And then my lookup value remains to be the same. We are still using the code as our reference point from this original sheet. I put a comma. I will change the table array. I will move back to my reference sheet, and now for the table array, I'm going to use this other one, not the original one that I had. So I use the one that I have transposed, the one that is aligned horizontally. I put a comma. Then now notice that my formula is now asking for the row index number. My formula is now asking for the row index number. It is now not column index number, but row index number. That is why we call it Hlookup, horizontally, so row. So what do I need here? I need the status. My status is in row 2. Row 1 is code, row 2 is status, and row 3 is paid period. So row 2 here is status, and this is what I'm interested in. So my row index number is 2, comma, range lookup is going to be false, exact match. So I'm going to fully lock this before I proceed. Let me pick my table array, then I fully lock it. I enter, and then I do what? I autofill. I enter, and then I autofill. So notice we are getting the same result as when we use Vlookup. So just to confirm, this equals the status here is equal to the status here. Right? So that gives true. Let me autofill. So everything is true. So we are getting the same output. The difference is what? The difference is the computation method that we are using. Great. You have just known how to use Vlookup function, and that is maybe the basics that we may use. Please subscribe to this channel if you want to get more about the Vlookup and the Hlookup and the Xlookup. So I have not covered Xlookup in this particular class. We will cover Hlookup in the next, not X, but Xlookup in the next session or in the next video that I will post here. Just be subscribed and turn on the notifications button if you want to be up to date. So we'll keep bringing in more, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.